Winter, have you heard the one about the airplane?
No?
It'll probably go over your head.
Yeah, it would.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere.
Welcome to the Hungry Squared podcast, where the brain and belly meet. I'm Lee from the Bee's Knees Waffles.
And I'm Winter from theredparty.com. This week, we're talking about marketing schemes. I don't know how to say that.
I think marketing schemes would be a good thing.
But we're going to focus on beverages.
Beverages this week.
Yep. It will be it's very interesting. Let's talk about it. Hey, Lee.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here this week.
Yeah, we're sad that Sharon's sick.
And she's got the pneumonia.
She's got the pneumonia.
Pneumonia.
And so we are hoping that she gets better quickly. I think it's been a bad season.
Yeah. It's always hard coming out of winter and going into spring.
Yeah. Well, and this year has been particularly bad with the flu and that type of thing. If you haven't listened to our What to Eat When You're Sick episode, that one's a fun one.
And I say we're going into spring, but it's still February, so we are far off from being close to being into spring. So.
And we're finally actually getting snow.
Yeah, it dumped on us.
Finally. So Lee, thanks for coming on. And we did miss it last week's episode. Sorry about that. We were a little busy and...
It was a holiday.
And it was my birthday.
We celebrated winter.
And so I just, I couldn't get my crap together, basically.
Nah.
Yeah, kind of.
You earned it.
Well, so sorry about that. We're back here. And Lee, has been nice to jump in. So with that being said, Lee, did you eat anything fun this week or interesting or bad or good?
Yeah, so for your birthday, we had your siblings over and we did some steak.
Oh, yeah.
And I did the steak. I'm sorry, dear.
Yeah, you did do the steak and it was delicious.
Yeah.
How did you prepare it?
Well, it was sous vide to medium rare.
What kind of steak was it again?
It was a ribeye. I think it was a ribeye.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a ribeye.
Ribeye, and then I did some salt, pepper, probably some cumin, some chili, Worcestershire sauce.
What was that again?
Worcestershire sauce.
If anybody knows how to say that properly, feel free to call us and.
It's like Leicester. It's Leicestershire, the city in England called Leicester.
I think I've heard Worcestershire. I think some people call it Worcester.
Worcester sauce.
It's kind of like Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester. Worcester sauce. Worcestershire sauce.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, I sauteed up some mushrooms.
Yum.
And just let them sit in butter and just caramelize really well.
Yum.
And then we got a really nice, soft gorgonzola cheese.
Gorgonzola.
And so we melted the gorgonzola with the mushrooms on top of the steak, and I thought it was very good.
It was very tasty. So
cheese wasn't too funky.
Yeah, we've done blue cheese before, and that's really good just in small amounts. But yeah, gorgonzola is not as funky to me, so it was really a nice combination, I thought.
I thought so too.
Yeah. And then, of course, sous vide. We used our Hamilton Beach sous vide machine thing, and it worked out pretty nicely. I'm just saying, it was a nice birthday dinner. So thanks, Lee.
You're welcome. And Winter, what did you eat that was interesting, fun, or disappointing?
So I'm going to say that we went for my birthday. You gifted me a class at Sur La Table, and that was really fun. And it was a French cooking class, and so I'm going to say two things about this French cooking class that I really enjoyed. It was, first of all, a lot of fun. And I did have, we made this Dijon mustard with bacon bits roasted chicken thing, right? I can't even remember the name of it.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it was really tasty. It was kind of a one pot trick, I guess. And I thought it was very tasty and smelled really good and it was really delicious. And actually all the dishes were good. We did French onion soup. We did this roasted chicken, and we did roasted winter vegetables, which also was amazing and easy and good. The thing that was a little not so good, in my personal opinion, was what was not on the menu. which was there was no dessert in a French cooking class.
Well, the French have no good desserts anyway, so.
Lee, yes, they do.
They don't. Name one good French dessert.
A macaron.
That's not French.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Where is it from then?
Definitely not France.
Creme brulee.
That's not French either.
I'm pretty sure it is.
No, it's not.
You're such a stinker. I need a dang pain au chocolat.
That's not French either. That's definitely German.
That's definitely German.
Yeah, pain de chocolat. Pain au chocolat. That's German.
So I thought that was a little weird. Didn't you think that was a little weird?
No, because it would have taken another hour.
Well, I didn't even really want to make it. I know we were there for a solid 3 hours and we ate late.
Yeah.
But I forced Lee to go get me some ice cream afterward. Like we went to go get Cold Stone afterward. So I really like the Sur Top classes, but that was good. I just thought it was weird there was no dessert. Like, here's a macaron cookie for your way home.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all.
Lee, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
Yeah. And now for the main course. Okay, let's get down to our first topic at hand. Advertising, especially with beverages.
Beverages. It's well designed. The reason why we decided to talk about this was because we started recently seeing advertisements for, I think it's Coke Zero Sugar.
Coke Zero Sugar.
And you see this guy with a little Coke bottle and he drinks it and he says something like, it tastes the same or something like that. It tastes like Coke. And then the advertising executive that's nearby goes into the other room of workers and says, we nailed it.
Yeah. And we went out to breakfast and they had a Coke dispenser and they had Coke Classic and they also had Coke Zero Sugar.
So we're like, okay, we're going to try it out. And so Lee, he's like, you go over there. And so he had Coke in there already. He finished it up. And then he said, you go over to the dispenser and get either Coke or get the Coke Zero class or sugar, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Coke.
And I'll tell you if it's Coke or the Coke Zero. I'm like, okay. So I walked over there and he had just finished Coke. Okay, people. And so I walked over there and I was like, okay, what is he going to not expect? This is like the whole Sicilian thing from Princess Bride. Like, is he going to expect to get the Coke or is he going to expect to get the Coke Zero? So I was like, okay, let me play some mind tricks with my husband. And I got regular Coke. I just got a spray of regular Coke. So I walked back and I gave it to Lee. And
I think I got the first one wrong.
you did get the first one wrong. You thought that was Coke Zero.
And first of all, it's coming from a dispenser. And
That's your excuse.
It's never correct.
I love dispenser fountain drinks. So
I hate it.
okay, so he got it wrong. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go back over there. And I drank it too. I hadn't tried it. So Lee drank it and he's like, oh, that's definitely Coke Zero. And so
I don't think I said definitely. I think this is Coke Zero.
I don't keep defending yourself, buddy.
That's right.
And so I walked back over there and this time I'm like, okay, once again, should I get Coke Zero or should I get Coke? And so
Paper, rock, scissors.
Yeah. So I actually went with Coke Zero and he's like, this one is definitely not Coke. And I was like, yeah, it is. And then I drank it and I was like, wow, this is a lot sweeter. Was it a lot? It tasted a lot sweeter to me.
It had a lot more alkaline taste to it as well, I thought.
So we got on this like discussion about what people perceive and drinks and such. So we're going to talk a little bit about great marketing behind some beverages that are out there on today's episode. So Lee, do you want to start out with something?
Yeah, I'll start out. So talking about the new Coke Zero Sugar versus Coke Classic. I'm actually going to talk about back in the 80s, 1985. This happened in April 23rd, 1985. For the first time in 99 years, Coca-Cola changed its formula. I wasn't actually born
when this actually happened.
April 23rd.
Yeah, you were not born yet. I was
a month out.
I was very young at the time, and I don't think I was allowed to drink Coca-Cola. So, and I think my family didn't really drink Coca-Cola. I think my mom was a Dr. Pepper person.
She was a pepper?
Yeah. So, but we were allowed to drink root beer and Sprite.
Those are some good flavors to
Solid.
drink as kids.
Solid ones.
Yeah, I sort of wish I would have had a Coke. I wish I would have known what New Coke was. But have you ever heard of New Coke?
I have. Because I like reading about marketing and stuff. So I've heard about this New Coke debacle.
The New Coke debacle.
Yeah. From what I know, or maybe you're going to fill in, they launched this campaign because they probably saw sales lagging and people were up in arms within a couple months, and they basically say, bring back old Coke.
Yeah, so the story goes, so there was it was called the Cola Wars. You had Pepsi and you had Coca-Cola, and they had two different fan bases, and Coca-Cola was actually the more dominant of the marketplace, but their sales were dipping. They're dipping quite a bit, and Pepsi was running these wonderful advertising about, hey, Pepsi's the new place, and they had all these famous, they had Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Pitching,
they had star power.
They had star power, and Coca-Cola was like, hey, we need to get on top of this. And so they started researching a new formula for Coca-Cola, and it was tested, 200,000 people, and the new formula to these 200,000 people tasted better. And so Coca-Cola was like, hey, look, this is what's going to launch us into the stratosphere of the Cola Wars.
Now, these people that were tested. This was a blind taste test.
This was
correct.
I don't know if it was a blind taste test. I don't know, but it was.
It probably had to be. Just only because people. Unfortunately, I'm sure you're going to cover this, but they taste with all of their senses, including their eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. From all my research, it didn't mention if it was a blind taste test. But so Coca-Cola ran with this, hey, this new formula, it's got great reviews from our testing. Let's launch it. And so April 23rd, Coca-Cola did away with Coca-Cola Classic and came out with New Coke. And they instantly saw their sales jump by 8%. And that was doubled what it was the year prior, and they're like, this is a success. This is going to be wonderful for us.
Okay.
But the problem was people started to realize that they liked Coca-Cola a whole lot more, so people had such brand loyalty that it drove those people to go. There were reports that people were buying thousands of dollars of Coca-Cola Classic and stockpiling it.
Stockpile it, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so there was over 40,000 letters written to the Coca-Cola company. There were hundreds of thousands of calls.
Oh, dang.
Sent into the corporate offices, and everybody, even including janitors, were being verbally assaulted by their neighbors saying, you guys just ruined Coca-Cola, bring back.
Oh.
Like everybody who was affiliated with Coca-Cola, the dispensary people.
Oh, man.
They were just like, people had such love for Coke Classic. And there was actually two protest groups. There were many protest groups, but two nationally recognized protest groups. One called the Society for the Preservation of the Real Thing, and the other one, Old Cola Drinkers of America.
Oh my gosh.
And they started grassroots campaigning to bring back Coke Classic.
No way.
Yeah.
I can see you being part of that second group, Lee.
The Old Cola drinkers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting on my front porch making picket signs.
Yeah. You're kind of a crotchety old man.
I am a crotchety old man.
And you would protest that, I think.
Yeah, I'd protest it. As long as I got my Coke Classic, I'd be okay. So there was this huge grassroots campaign to get Coca-Cola Classic back. And on July 11th, so this is 79 days later, Coca-Cola Classic was brought back, and it was such a big thing that ABC News interrupted General Hospital to bring Peter Jennings, the anchor Peter Jennings, to come in on a news flash.
What?
And he declared, the old Coke is back. The old Coke is coming back.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those things where people speculate that either this was the biggest blunder in corporate advertising and corporate decision making, or it was the most wonderfully orchestrated advertising scheme. Because after the new Coke, Coca-Cola has just become a dominant company, all because of the new Coke debacle.
So do you think it was, so is there anybody that says that it was actually quote unquote a successful marketing campaign?
Well, so yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the CEO, I can't remember his name, but there was a couple quotes. And they say, yes, it was a failure, but it was the biggest success of the company. So they're sort of towing the line on both sides, saying it was a failure, but it was a success.
I guess bad publicity is still publicity.
Yeah.
I think actually, looking back on it, because I have heard about this debacle before, but you bring up a good point of, you know what, they created when you have opposition, which is taking away their old classic Coke. People get extremely, they like hold on to stuff that they know they're going to be, is going to be taken away. Yeah, it makes people kind of panic, and they're like, wait a second, you can't take away something that's been mine for years, and why are you messing with something that's good? I think it drives loyalty.
Yeah, people dig in their heels and they fight back hard. That was one of those advertising the new Coke, and it was supposed to be bigger and better, and people didn't buy it. And they, well, at first they bought it, but then
probably just to try it out.
Oh yeah, that's the new Coke debacle.
Interesting. Okay, can I move into something else that another beverage that we pay a lot of money for?
Yeah, pray tell.
Water.
Water.
Yeah, we buy bottled water on occasion.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Every once in a while. Not too often, but...
The major time we buy it is for our Italian soda parties.
Yes, indeed. So let's talk about H2O and how it became, bottled water especially became so prevalent. Because back in the day, it kind of seems like in the 70s, it would have been a crazy idea to pay for water that comes out of your tap, that is drinkable.
Potable, clean water.
Potable, clean water. And so that changed when a Frenchman who his name, you probably know who he is.
Jacques Chirac?
No, not Jacques Chirac.
Nicolas Sarkozy?
Nope, not Nicolas Sarkozy. Gustave Levin.
Gustave Levin?
His company is Perrier.
Oh.
Okay, so he basically constructed an excellent advertising / marketing scheme I keep saying scheme. Scam, whatever. It's pretty impressive in marketing history. So he had climbed his way up and started marketing Perrier. So if you guys are familiar with Perrier, it's fizzy water, right? That are sold in these
beautiful green bottles.
They're kind of shaped in a bowling pin, right? We've seen them.
Yeah. You
see them in fancy restaurants and stuff like that. And so he'd done really well for himself and gained quite a large share of the fizzy water business in Europe.
In Europe, the market in Europe.
Exactly. Because he was very Perrier supplied Buckingham Palace, for example, with the champagne of waters. And so obviously things changed in World War II because that kind of collapsed. But under Levin, when he took over the company, he saw that sales grew by 15-fold between 1946 and 1952, and in the European market anyway. And then he was basically the top sparkling water in France by the mid-70s. So he set his sights on the New World, the United States. And so what did he start doing? He started getting more elite restaurants and hotels, very fine hotels in New York and Los Angeles, to start selling Perrier, which was another thing. And then they ended up going in and opening up an office in 76 in New York. And so he was like, okay, we got to start making Perrier, this water of all things, sparkling water of all things, to be something that people will actually want to purchase. So they did this a series of TV advertisements, and there's one specifically in 1979, and I'll probably post it on our show notes so you can see it. But Orson Welles, and he has a lovely baritone voice, and he's talking about how he says naturally sparkling from the center of the earth, this water, and he says Perrier in such a beautiful way, and so it kind of evokes this very rich, very classy, very sophisticated. It ties those to Perrier, and it kind of talks it talks about status. Now, if you think about it, it's kind of like when you can pay for something expensive. It's like, oh, you just paid a chunk of money for something that the more you pay, sometimes it's like, oh, you can, that's clout right there. They paid 23-ounce bottle of this Perrier, $1.09. It was originally $1.09 and went down to 69 cents. So it would have been about $3 in today's dollars. And so that was within the reach of a certain social class.
Yeah, demographic of people would be paying $3.
Yeah. And he was trying to go after the baby boomers, thinking about it. In the 70s, they were starting to they were probably in their 20s, 30s. And so they were starting to purchase and make decisions about food. And so the fact that they were able to associate Perrier with something that was kind of classier was kind of a good thing. So they capitalized on that. They capitalized around how if you wanted to be, have clout, have perfection, that type of thing, that was what they did. And then this was the fun thing, was not the fun thing. I think it's very interesting. Perrier actually started to sponsor the New York City Marathon in 1977. So the New York Marathon, this one had started to gain some more traction as a reputable race and that type of thing, but they sponsored it. And from there on, they just, the messaging because Perrier was given to athletes and that type of thing, it was kind of started to be associated with health too. So kind of after this time with the New York Marathon sponsorship, Americans bought 500 million gallons of bottled water. Over the next decade, it quadrupled. And Perrier, which has since, they basically dominated both domestic and imported markets. It was pretty impressive. Now, things kind of changed a little bit. In February 1990, there was some random testing that uncovered some traces of benzene in samples of Perrier in the U.S. So there was a nationwide recall of for over 4 months. And that actually caused their market share to dry up quite a bit. It dropped down to 20%. And so because of that disaster for Perrier brought in a new market for other. There was a void in the market, and people jumped on it. So the PepsiCo company, they basically decided that they were going to kind of make a move, and they noticed that their customers, other customers would buy a bottle of spring water. They would buy something that they could get from the tap, like Perrier. And what they would notice was that people would buy this, but when they were done, they would fill it up with tap water. So it wasn't necessarily just as long as the vessel itself, that little bottle was worth something, not just the water. Sure, there's water, but the bottle was worth something.
Yeah, it was advertising.
Yeah.
The bottle itself was advertising.
So PepsiCo they already had the infrastructure to purify and sell tap water. So that's what they did. They installed additional equipment to do reverse osmosis in their Kansas plant, and basically started rolling out Aquafina about 3 years later. And same thing with Coca-Cola, like we talked about, not to be outdone. It was competitive. The beverage area is very competitive. They did not want to be outdone. So Dasani was rolled out in 1999. And same thing, they're not from springs like Perrier or Evian or anything like that. They came from municipal sources. They just treated filtered water. That's exactly right. Now, I'm going to just make a little side note. This is not exactly the full on, but I just want to point out Dasani does have sodium added to it, and that can it makes it a little sweeter almost. I think Dasani tastes sweeter to me.
It has a flavor to it. It has
a flavor to it. And so they put a little bit of salt to kind of oh, this is different. Yeah, this is tastier.
Refreshing.
Yeah. So that in itself is a totally different thing, but just kind of this whole decline of bottled water and what people are doing. So it's not your regular carbonated soft drink, and people were starting to see, like PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, were starting to see kind of a decline in soda drinking because of, people trying to be healthy. They're realizing sugar, there's calories in your sodas and that type of thing. And so they started advertising their water. They're like, if we can't get them in the soda world, we'll get them in the water world. And so once again, other advertisements came along, Aquafina, Dasani, different people were like big celebrities were pushing it and that type of thing. So, and they were placing it in health magazines, like ads in health magazines and that type of thing. So it's really interesting because it was only about 3% of the market in 1993. And then 10 years later, it was 36% of the market. Like that is like, you think that's huge. Like, and if you think about it, water, if you're getting it from municipal sources and you've paid some money, obviously for the equipment to do the reverse osmosis and to package it and everything. But that's a really big markup compared to maybe like soda, because soda there's ingredients and all these other things that you have to do in order to get it onto the market. So I just thought it was interesting because it really it's kind of followed the trend of Americans trying to be a little healthier and the market kind of having, like you said, a void. So all of these Dasani, the Aquafina are not sparkling or gaseous. I don't know what carbonated.
The mineral waters.
It's not the mineral waters that are carbonated and sparkling. These ones are just a flat version. And those have, I would say in America, flat, quote unquote, flat water is more popular than say a Perrier or any of those other sparkling waters that once held a very strong hold in America in the early, the 70s and 80s. So I just thought that was really interesting. It's a really interesting and sometimes a little unfortunate. I think that we are so accustomed to purchasing water in a bottle because of the fact that the water bottles themselves contribute a whole series of issues to our environment. But it is interesting to see how this marketing from people would never think about paying for water that they could get from their tap in the 70s. And now we do a lot. 36% of the market share kind of a thing, a lot. So it's crazy. So that was one thing I thought was interestingly.
I don't often buy like the flat Dasani water, like the flat water, but I do quite enjoy mineral water, the sparkling water. And I think my Italian food tastes a lot better when I'm drinking a sparkling water. The salts of the minerals makes the pasta pop. So that's one thing that I have been duped into. When I drink my sparkling mineral water with my Italian food, it tastes better.
It tastes better. Well, we might have to do a little taste test then, Lee. We'll go buy some Special K sparkling water from the Smiths down the street and get some Perrier as well.
Yeah, we'll get the $50 bottle of specialty artisanal mineral bottled at the source versus a 25-cent gallon and a half.
Yep. That we use for the Italian soda party we have every year. So I just think it's interesting because apparently we want to spend money on stuff.
Hey, if it's not water, it's going to be something else.
Yeah. Yep, it's true. So I guess we might as well have something that's sort of healthy. Well, it is healthy. What am I talking about? Okay. Next thing, Lee. Let's talk about another beverage.
Winter?
Yes.
You are lactose intolerant.
Yep, I'm a lactard.
Did you grow up drinking milk?
Yeah, I totally did.
You did?
Yeah.
Just your whole family, your parents?
Yeah, we did.
All right.
We drank milk. We drank a lot of milk.
You drank a lot of milk. You're now drinking soy milk.
I am.
For the most part. I think pretty much you do soy milk in our household.
Yep.
But do you remember the advertising campaign Got Milk?
Oh yeah, totally. I love those.
It was it was a big advertising. It was one of the most prominent, most recognizable advertising campaigns in all of American history. And it was created by a advertising firm called Goodbye Silverstein and Partners. And it was for the California Milk Processing Board. The California Milk Processor Board. And this advertising rolled out October 29th, 1993. And the first commercial, Winter, off the top of your head, can you tell me who shot Alexander Hamilton?
I'm pretty sure that's Aaron Burr.
It was Aaron Burr. Do you know who Michael Bay is?
He's a really big director.
He's a big director.
Of like Transformers?
I think it's Transformers.
Yeah. Like a bunch of things, but like Transformers comes to the front of my mind.
Yeah, I think that is what he's known for, Transformers. I think they're up to like 67 movies of Transformers.
There's kind of a lot, people.
There's a lot. As of time of recording, there's, I think, in the 60s.
No, it's not 60s. I think there's like 5.
7, I think. I think 7.
7? Oh,
I think so.
Apparently, we haven't been watching.
Yeah. But Michael Bay made the very first Got Milk advertisement. And
He did?
He did. He was the director of the very first Got Milk advertisement. And what it was is you see this museum curator spreading peanut butter on a peanut butter sandwich, and it's just goopy, lots of peanut butter, and you could tell he's going to enjoy the sandwich. And he's listening to a radio program, and the radio program's playing this very classical music. And he's in his museum, and he puts his sandwich together, and he starts eating it. And the song ends, and the radio programmer says, "All right, it's time to call our random phone number to give the $10,000 winning bonus." And the guy's eating his sandwich, and his phone rings, and he picks it up, and you hear him go, "Hello?" And they're like, "Hello, sir, you're our random caller for $10,000 if you can answer who shot Alexander Hamilton." And the camera focuses on, there's the dueling pistols, and it says Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, and then it shows, and all throughout the museum, it's pretty much dedicated to this duel. And the guy, you could tell, is getting really excited, and it shows just all these different artifacts from this famous duel.
Yeah.
And he yells out with a peanut butter filled mouth, "Aaron Burr!" And the guy on the radio program's like, "Sorry, I didn't understand." He's like, "Aaron Burr!" And he can't pronunciate the word Aaron Burr. And so he's frantically looking around, and he sees a carton of milk, and he tries to pour a glass of milk, and he barely gets like a drop or two.
Oh no.
And the guy's like, "Sir, your time's running out. Who shot Alexander Hamilton?" And and the curator's just so like frustrated that he can't clear his mouth. And the radio announcer's like, "I'm sorry, your time's up," and hangs up. And you see the guy just completely dejected, just slump his shoulders.
Oh, that's so sad.
And then it fades to black, and it says, "Got Milk." And that commercial has won, I don't know what a advertising Emmy or an Academy Award or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it is
well decorated.
Well decorated. And they have remade that one for the Alexander Hamilton musical.
Oh, they have?
And Lin-Manuel.
Yeah.
He starred in that one.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So that was the beginning of the Got Milk campaign.
Now, Lee, I know the one that I grew up watching or seeing are all the milk mustaches.
The milk mustaches. So the milk mustache was the advertising for the milk processor education program. And they got the licensing to do both the milk mustache and the Got Milk. So the milk mustache was all the famous celebrities who were endorsed by the milk processors campaign. And so it was in conjunction with the mustache and the Got Milk.
So the thing that I always associated with, I'll tell you this right now, the milk thing worked. Like my dad, we bought milk. I mean, I would say most of my family and most of the members of my family, I would say, are kind of sort of lactose intolerant to one degree or another. And so, but we drank plenty of milk, and it was because there were advertisements in magazines and on TV, and these are celebrities that would have, and these were like movie stars, but also health people.
Serena Williams did it.
Yeah, exactly.
And big amount of sports athletes.
And you're like, I just want to be like them. And that was huge. And not just, I mean, like cow's milk is very nutritious and such, but it was just interesting how well it advertised for a drink. It wasn't a specific brand. No,
but it was for a conglomerate. It was for the milk processors conglomeration. They got it from the California Milk Processor Board.
It's so cool. I mean, it's very, because they're like, that's the other thing is like, you can get calcium in a lot of different forms, not just in milk.
Oh yeah.
But that's what people know. Like, I need to drink my milk.
Advertising work. So one thing that I found absolutely interesting in a New York Times interview, some of the people at Goodbye Silverstein and Partners thought that the advertisement, that campaign, was lazy.
What do you mean?
Got Milk. They just thought that it was like a lazy advertisement. So they said, and this is a direct quote, that the partners thought it was lazy, not to mention grammatically incorrect. And so here, one of the biggest stalwart advertising for milk, the people who thought it up was like, it was sort of lazy. Like,
we kind of phoned it in. It wasn't a big deal.
It was got milk. Who,
true.
A 5-year-old could have thought.
Correct.
A 5-year-old probably could have thought that up. But it has won recognition worldwide for being one of the most recognizable slogans.
Yeah. And we're watching the Olympics, and there are still...
Well, actually, they've done away with the Got Milk tagline.
They have?
As of 2014.
As of 2014? No, I swear I saw a milk campaign. It's
now Milk Life.
Milk Life. Okay.
Milk Life.
I was going to say, I swear I saw something just recently when we were watching the Winter Olympics. And
and the reason why they switched over from Got Milk to Milk Life is they're trying to advertise the benefits of drinking milk, because with the rising generation, not necessarily skipping breakfast, but maybe not getting a sit-down breakfast, which was more common for other generations. They're trying to promote, hey, the Milk Life, it's got loads of protein, it's got loads of vitamin D and stuff and like that. So
okay, I didn't even notice that the tagline had changed, Lee.
Milk Life is now what's replacing Got Milk.
Okay, because they've got, they're actually kind of in a little bit of low to hurt, actually, because of the market share shifted so that there's less cow's milk, but more
cow's milk. There's
plant-based, quote unquote, plant-based milks.
There's all the cashew milk, the coconut milk, the soy milk, almond milk,
rice milk. It's all out there. Yeah. And like you said, I do generally drink soy milk because I like my stomach. If I just drink straight milk, is not super happy with me afterward. However, I have found that Fairlife milk is, I think
it's lactose free.
It's lactose free, so I can drink that and not have too many issues. I don't think I have any issues with it. It's just I haven't drunk milk for a long time usually, and so it's like, oh, this is a really different taste. So that's what I've got for Got Milk. It was a very effective campaign. It worked on me.
It worked on millions of people as well.
It did, and people drank a lot of milk. Okay, Lee, I'm gonna finish up with one little thing that I thought was really interesting. Did you know the coffee break was an invention, a marketing invention?
No.
So I don't drink coffee, but I'm very familiar with it. There's a coffee break.
So what technically constitutes a coffee break?
A 15-minute break in which you are encouraged to break from your work and have a snack and maybe some coffee. The coffee will give you a little bit of a pick me up in the middle of the afternoon. And we'll probably go into this a little bit more because we're going to be interviewing a fellow podcaster of ours, friends, and he is going to talk about coffee with us. So we'll chat a little bit more about the background of how coffee has kind of made it onto the scene with him. So coffee was it was America's drink. Like, you could get more caffeine than tea via coffee, and but they were trying to, like, Brazil, for example, was a huge market share of the producing coffee beans and that type of thing. The Great Depression hit, and then we dropped off in our coffee consumption just because we just couldn't afford it. That was a luxury, right?
Yeah.
They are trying really hard to there's a coffee federation. There's the very first coffee federation conferences were starting to be created in 1936 and 1937 in order to start building up the coffee market share once again. And so they came up with the Pan American Coffee Bureau, and they worked really hard with the Federal Advertising Agency, and they began heavily advertising coffee as a drink as opposed to a specific brand. And when I say that, they're not, in the past, you would have seen ads for Folgers coffee or Maxwell House or whatever it happened to be, a specific brand. But this particular coffee bureau, the Pan American Coffee Bureau, started pushing the drink itself. Like, it's kind of like the milk campaign, like, drink more milk. I'm not necessarily trying to advertise drink Farmer Joe's milk more than another person. This was, once again, this was kind of the first time that they were advertising for a drink, like a specific big product.
So the growers, probably every grower probably paid into this saying, hey, look, coffee in general, and then the sellers also probably had their own budget as well, but they paid into this coffee bureau.
Probably something like that, because I think that's usually what happens when it comes to avocados of Mexico or lentils of Canada or whatever happens to be. People just like the farmers want you to buy more of what they're growing, selling, and so this was a way to push it, to promote the overall coffee drink. So now they tried to this Pan American Coffee Bureau once again started, they started pushing kind of the trend of making this food product or this beverage more of a lifestyle thing. In 1952, they started a campaign called Give Yourself a Coffee Break. And they had almost in like Norman Rockwell type ads. And they ran them in big magazines, Saturday Evening Post, the Life magazine. And they featured different workers, kind of different type of office workers. And I'm talking like, this is back in the 50s. So it was like white office workers and, different baseball players and a dressmaker relaxing in the afternoon. And they would be having a cup of coffee. And basically, it was kind of a pick-me-up. So they were the one that created this 15-minute break in the afternoon, this coffee break that people started to think was their right.
It was constitutionally protected that I have this coffee break. It totally is. Okay,
and I even want to say that it really got into everybody's minds because the concept spread in workplaces so much so that even in 1964, the United Auto Workers they went on strike to get coffee breaks added to their contracts.
So I wonder if the Pan American Coffee Union, what was it called again?
The Pan America Coffee Bureau
contacted individual unions and say, hey, look, here's $100,000. Get your workers a 15-minute break to have coffee.
I don't know if they contacted them. I just think it was starting to spread because advertisements like, well, I do need to pick me up at 2:00 in the afternoon. I got a couple more hours of work and I am feeling lagging. After my lunch, I'm kind of feeling little down. So
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, who knows?
I bet a lot of people were thinking, it would be nice to have a 15-minute break.
It's I'll tell you.
But I wonder if there was some pushing in the back.
Well, I think it just started to become more of a societal norm because even in the 1952 presidential election, when Dwight D. Eisenhower, he was running against the Democrat Adlai Stevenson, the National Federation of Republican Women started having coffee hours for Eisenhower. So there would be women getting together in the afternoon. They were in formal meetings to talk about different things. And they actually attribute a lot of his win due to these kind of the women feeling more involved, sitting down, having afternoon coffee breaks and talking about the campaign, what he was going for. It just was really very useful for them. And when the 1956 campaign season rolled around, they basically did Operation Coffee Cup. Same thing. This movement, this ground floor grassroots movement of people to sit in, get together as women to talk about politics. It really kind of made a big difference for they would feel more engaged in politics. And don't get me wrong, there was very carefully scripted stuff, but it was they felt like they were involved and being a part of the nation's politics and such. So it just very interesting how that kind of played into it. So coffee is a huge deal. I didn't realize the coffee break, that little 15-minute time to go grab some coffee, a little pick-me-up was basically an advertising thing. I seriously thought it was the workers needing a little bit more break I thought I was like a labor union type thing, but it was totally not.
Well, if you think about it, like in every break room, they have those giant pots of coffee.
Yeah, they do.
Always brewing.
Brewing something. It's surprising that it's more ubiquitous than say just hot water available for some tea or something like that. We always have coffee makers everywhere. they're everywhere. So it was just interesting how I really thought it was a labor union type thing, but it was more of a, hey, let's get people to drink coffee.
Let's get our product out
there. Well, that was very interesting, Lee. Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you.
Our podcast is brought to you by our awesome and food-loving sponsors, IKEA. You guys, spring is right around the corner, and so is Easter. And IKEA is holding their annual Påskbord, or it's a Swedish smorgasbord buffet, in honor of the Easter holiday. And at your local IKEA store, so you will have to check with your local store, your neighborhood store, but the one here in Utah, so if you're local, great, come join us on Friday, March 9th, 2018 for this little buffet in honor of Easter. We're pretty excited about that. And you know what? There are tickets available. You do have to talk to your local food associate there at IKEA for tickets. If you are an IKEA family member, you get a discounted rate because it's originally $16.99 a person and $4.99 for for kids 12 and under. But if you are an IKEA family member, that drops it down by $4. So it's $12.99 per person and $2.99 for kids 12 and under. And we're excited to kind of participate in this. Easter is a big deal in the Swedish world, it seems like also. And they got quite a lovely menu lined up. I'm kind of excited.
Yeah. Now, Winter, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is seating limited?
Seating is limited. So please go talk to your local IKEA food manager there and see if you can secure some of your tickets early on. We are probably going to be heading there on, like I said, March 9th. If you want to join us, we're going to go to the second seating, the 6:30.
Second seating.
Yep, there's a 4 p.m. and a 6:30 seating. So we would love to see you there if you'd like to join us. And I'm excited. I mean, they're going to have basically the same buffet.
It's a smorgasbord.
It's a smorgasbord, so they're going to have all of their really good Swedish food. But I'm actually a little curious. They have Swedish ham listed as kind of the main course. Do you know what Swedish ham is? Is there anything in particular?
It's the burger ham.
It just looks really yummy. So jump onto IKEA's website, ikea.com, and type in look for your local store and see when this is happening for your neighborhood. And we'd love to see you there.
Let's have a food fight.
Food fight, food fight, food fight, food fight. It's winter.
This is a segment where you can email us with your relationship questions relating to food. You can email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Disclaimer, we are in no way professional relationship experts, but you should totally listen to us anyway. If you need professional help, please seek it out.
Food fight, food fight, food fight. The food fight segment of the show. Here we go.
All right, Winter, you got the email because I don't.
Yeah, I do. I got it. Okay. It's a short one, actually. It says, "Dear Sharon and Winter," or I guess Lee in our case. Hi.
Hello.
It states, "My parents eat horribly. How do I nudge them in the right direction? Signed, raised on microwave dinners."
Quick question. How old are you? First of all, if you're like a little kid, you can talk about like, oh, today in health class, we're talking about this. Maybe we should as a family do this. But if you're like a 30-something, 20-something, 30-something, 40-something year old, and you're looking at your parents and going, oh my goodness, look at them eating crap. Well, guess what? They're adults. They can do whatever the heck they want.
That's true.
So
I think...
I'm sure you're doing it out of love, that you want them to be healthy and live longer and be healthier or whatever. But if you're a young person, their eating habits do affect you, yes.
Yes, it does.
And so you can nicely suggest, hey, why don't we have a salad this week? And I'll go shopping with you, Mom and Dad, and we'll put together a salad. If you yourself make the effort to make the food, because if your parents are the only ones making the food, you can't really say anything.
That's true. You got to be able to put forth some effort. Lee, I do agree with you, though. If you are... moved out of the house? Or even if you're not moved out of the house?
Yeah, if you're an adult. Let's just put that caveat. Okay. If you're an adult, if you're living in their basement, first of all, you don't have a leg to stand on. Get out of their basement.
That's true. That is true. Okay. So if... And
of course, there are situations that are, yeah. I'm making a joke.
But with some seriousness to it. But yeah, I think, unfortunately, they're adults and they are going to make their own decisions. And it's hard to break food
habits.
If they've been cooking like that for years, if they've been having just microwave dinners for years, then it's really hard to break those kind of habits. I'm not saying that it can't be possible.
It can't be, yeah.
But it is hard to get that out of people's minds now. And I will agree that with Lee that they are adults. They can make their own decisions. But you know what, Lee? What if you want to make sure that your parents are around to live long enough? Because if they're eating so terribly.
Well, just look at it this way. They're eating up your inheritance. The sooner they pass away,
Lee!
The bigger your inheritance
Lee, that's
is.
terrible. That's terrible. You are terrible.
I'm kidding. So one thing I would suggest is invite your parents over to your place and you cook them dinner.
Yeah.
And show them, hey, look, this is a very healthy option.
But it's very tasty,
and
too.
It's very tasty. And if all of a sudden you're like, hey, once every other week, twice a month, 3 times a month, if you have your parents over and you're cooking them good meals, they can see, it is nice to have a really good meal that's healthy.
A home cooked
meal.
I mean, and that could actually apply to parents or people that eat out a lot, because
yeah.
I mean, you're making food for yourself is probably going to be the least expensive and healthiest way to get nutrition and such. So,
and maybe even invite them over to help them cook the meal instead of just have them come over and eat the meal. Have them come over and cook the meal with you in your place.
That sounds good. I also love the option of taking a class. If one or both of them want to take a class with you, and I think cooking classes are fun. And that could just give some other ideas for them on how to cook a little healthier. Granted, you have to look at the specific cooking class because some of them
won't have a dessert option.
Some of them will not have a dessert option, which is fine, I guess. But you can find ones that maybe are touting to be the menu is a little healthier or something that can be done quickly, because there's probably other roadblocks for them to actually cook healthy meals. They may just not understand some of those things, and maybe some education would go a long way.
Yeah. Don't take the how to deep fry butter class. That's not a good class.
Yeah, because that one's totally offered everywhere.
It is nowadays.
Ugh. That makes my stomach hurt just thinking about it.
Yeah. So my key takeaways, I would think, because I'm a man, I'm going to try to solve the problem, is if you're young and you are living at home, maybe help suggest and help cook food with them. And if you are an adult and you would like to see your parents be more healthy, have them come over to your house and you cook meals with them at your place and you plan it out. That's what I would do.
I think those are some good options, Lee. Give that a try. We don't know how old you are. We don't know what eating horribly means either, whatever your terms are. Because if you're if you only eat certain foods yourself. Okay, we won't go there. Okay. Yeah. I think those are good. I think those are great, Lee. Good job.
Thanks, babe.
Thanks for helping us answer the question today.
Solved it.
He just gave me a thumbs up, you guys. So cute.
Solve the problem. Thanks for joining us today for our show. You can find us at hungrysquared.com, on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play Music.
You guys, feel free to share our podcast with your food nerdy friends and family. That helps get the word out. And we really have a lot of fun with our little food nerdy community. So we appreciate you joining us every single week. And we look forward to seeing you next week on our next episode of Food Nerdery.
Okay. Love ya. Bye.
Bye.
Hungry Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.